Welcome back to part 2 where we're going over the week that is the first week of the NFL season, just kind of going over fantasy implications and maybe some interesting snap stuff and things to pay attention to and early waiver wire looks. But yeah, Dad, we're going to get right back into it. I did want to get your thoughts on your Lions. We're not going over the Lions because we did that on the preview show, but your Lions won, beat Kansas City. In Kansas City, you want to just give your thoughts on that? Thought I'd give you a chance.
Yeah, with an asterisk, but yeah. But anyway, Lions look pretty good. They did everything right. They typically in the past they would lose games like that. They would. So I know it's not a sexy win, and Kansas City dropped a lot of passes, and Kelsey didn't play, and all the other stuff. Hey, that's part of football. So, the Lions are 1-0. They play Seattle this coming week in Detroit. So we'll see. We'll see how it rolls out. Hopefully they keep it up, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll get into 7 more games here to kind of recap week 1. Starting off with the Cardinals at Commanders. Commanders win this game. Josh Dobbs, 130 yards, kind of my fear. Like, can he even get to 200? I thought I was comfortable with that with Colt McCoy, and then when I learned it was Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune, I was like, oh man, can he even get to 200 yards? Because if he can't, that's going to be tough for these receivers, and that's what we saw. James Conner was fine, 14 carries, 62 yards. He also had 5 catches, which only turned into 8 yards, but that's good enough for a top 24 running back. So that's kind of where I expect him all year long. The receivers, nothing. Rondale Moore, Marquise Brown, neither of them got over 35 yards. They both had carries, which is nice, but it's going to be tough to start these guys until you start seeing something or Kyler comes back. And then the tight ends, it's just not much to talk about the Cardinals. Like, is there anything really, Dad, you want to talk about with the Cardinals? Like,
no, James Conner is a good football player, so the rest of these guys are remember Marquise Brown crying his way out of Baltimore, and see where that got you, pal.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to start anyone besides Conner on this team. Like, they're just not. I mean, they played well, they played their hearts out, and they didn't get blown out or like everyone thought, or they're not, the players aren't trying to tank. Like, they don't want to tank.
No,
maybe the organization is,
not.
but
yeah,
they were there 20-16. So, but yeah, there's not much excitement here besides James Conner, and that's not even really exciting. It's just a usable fantasy piece. So, in terms of the Commanders, Sam Howell, because of his rushing touchdown, was the QB 11. Threw for 200 yards, threw a touchdown. I think that's what we expected from him, and then hopefully something on the ground, and he gave you a rushing touchdown. Brian Robinson looks to be – this team loves Brian Robinson, despite what everyone thinks, maybe that he's not that good or whatever, but 19 carries, 59 yards, a catch and 7 yards, that's good for RB13 on the week, believe it or not. Not even with a touchdown. 66 yards is good for RB13. That's just how bad this week was in terms of scoring. Like, not great there. He might have got a touchdown unless I'm mistaken. Now that I think about it, I'm just going to double check that. No, he did not. Oh no, he did catch a touchdown. So that's why he was RB13. So, because I thought that was a little strange. Antonio Gibson, oh, man, 3 carries and a catch. That's not good. We'll circle back to that in just a second. These receivers, McLaurin and Dotson, if you started them, you're not super happy. Dotson, 40 yards, 5 catches. McLaurin, 2 catches, 30 yards. So we'd like to see improvement there. Curtis Samuel, who I mentioned as a potential sleeper, 5 catches, 54 yards. Also, he gets carries. He had 1 this game. So he's going to get 30, 40, 50 carries this year too. So just keep an eye out on Curtis Samuel being a sneaky flex play. So, and then Logan Thomas, surprisingly, guy wasn't there all off season. 4 catches, 43 yards.
He wasn't even injured.
Yeah, guess not. I was surprised about that. So, but circling back, I think the big topic here for fantasy purposes is the running backs. We had Antonio Gibson. Like, what do we do? I mean, we're not
Jeez.
dropping him, but
I don't know, man. He didn't. I watched him play in the preseason, and they still kind of utilized him and stuff. And I don't know. We'll just have to see how it plays out, and that's too bad.
at what point, if you get, let's say, 2 more weeks of this type of production, are you just dropping him at that point?
No, I wouldn't drop him. Hopefully I got somebody else, that I could put in who's going to give me some more points. It really, really sucks in fantasy is when you start players and then you get 2 points, 3 points, or something like that. That's hard. You want something. Give me 5, give me 8, something like that. These guys who put up the big goose eggs or holy shit, I had Sky Moore give me 0.4 points. So those hurt, and
yeah. Luckily Gibson's not the guy, but there's some guys where like Allen Robinson from 2 years ago when he was on the Bears last year with the Bears. He was a player you drafted in like the 3rd round. And so you were just constantly starting him. So Gibson's not that, at least. You're just not going to start him now. Maybe you did this week, but you don't have to start him. Hopefully you should have built your team properly. I'm fine with, after a couple weeks of seeing if there's someone better on the waiver wire, I'm fine with dropping Gibson.
Yeah, if you think somebody's better, but it's a long season too. So let's week 8, next thing the guy's the big running back for the Commanders, but you never know.
Yeah, Gibson did fumble, which is also, coaches hate that. So, but yeah, it's just, it's tough to watch, I guess. But yeah, Robinson, he's becoming a flex play. He's a flex play. Despite what we think about his talent, the dude is a flex play, that's for sure. But yeah, moving on to the Packers and the Bears. Packers kind of win this one pretty handedly, I'd say. Jordan Love looks good. His first game, Bears aren't a great defense, keep that in mind. But Jordan Love, 250 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He was the QB3 on the week. Obviously, this is before the Monday night games. Aaron Jones, running back, had a good game. He got hurt, so keep an eye on that this week. But, he finishes as the RB1. He's the current RB1 right now. 9 carries, 40 yards and a touchdown. 2 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown. He's really good. Aaron Jones is really good. A.J. Dillon is proving my theory of the guy is really not good at football, and he's the most expensive handcuff in the history of fantasy football. 13 carries, 19 yards. But he's just not good. The guy is not good at football. So, yeah, he may get the opportunity if Aaron Jones is hurt. And if you want to start him, fine. But you're going to start him. He's going to give you 15 carries, 17 carries for 70 yards, So just be aware. Wide receivers, Romeo Doubs, despite playing on he was limited in terms of the snap count because of his injury. 4 catches, 26 yards, 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver 9. Dad, are you? Luke Musgrave, 3 catches, 50 yards. The rookie tight end 10 on the week. Dad, are you thinking Packers found another one with Jordan Love, or do you think it's just more of the Bears as a terrible?
Yeah,
team?
we'll just we'll see. I think he's going to look good early in the year because there wasn't a lot of tape on Jordan Love and stuff like that, and then I don't know, about halfway through the season, I think teams will start figuring him out and his tendencies and things like that. And, the Packers do have a very good offensive line. You mentioned Aaron Jones, that long screen pass, I think he caught pretty much, or long pass. He hurt his hamstring, it looked like. So those are concerning injuries. So,
Yeah, for sure they are, and that would make Dylan a starter. Yeah, I'm just not really excited about that necessarily. Um, but yeah, it was in terms of the usage, like it was a pretty relatively decent split between Jones and Dylan, like it always is. But Aaron Jones is just so good, So yeah, hopefully he's not too hurt. Um,
I
and then
want
the
to point out,
Bears, yeah, go
Luke
ahead.
Musgrave, rookie
Mhm.
tight end. 3 catches, 50 yards, so that's good. The Thursday night game, going back to Detroit, rookie tight end Sam Laporta. These guys look the part. They look
Yes.
like they're gonna fit in okay and probably do nothing but get better.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting like narrative to follow because the whole thought process is rookie tight ends never do anything. Never. You can't start them. You can't draft them. Well, we got three potentially interesting ones this year with Musgrave as one of them. Obviously Laporta, and then Kincaid, who's going tonight. So it'll be interesting to see if we break that. I'm old enough in the fantasy world to remember when rookie receivers would never pan out. It would take them a couple years to do anything, and now it's all you want is rookie receivers on your team. So NFL changes, things change. These guys come in and they're not traditional tight ends. They're more like big receivers who can block. So, interesting to see because 50, you noted 3 catches for 50 yards is good enough to be tight end 10 on the week. So that's all you need. The occasional touchdown and you're a top 5 tight end. So, but with the Bears, yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, the Bears just didn't look that much better, to be honest. Fields was QB 15 on the week, 216 yards, a touchdown, 59 yards on the ground. Khalil Herbert, 9 carries. Roshan, 5 carries. Deontay, 5 carries. None of them had more than 30 yards on the ground. Khalil Herbert did have 3 catches. Roshan had 6 catches. I think he was like the top 15 RB on the week. I don't know, Dad. Are you concerned? So here's the splits for the backfield. Khalil Herbert had 26 snaps. Roshan had 26, but a lot of that came in when they were losing pretty badly. So keep that in mind. Deontay had 19. Roshan was in on most on the third downs. 2-minute drill. Roshan had the most. So are you concerned about this backfield of just kind of being a 3-headed monster, or are you just still starting Khalil?
And my thought process in preseason hasn't changed after week 1, with these guys. Mm-hmm. Who's going to play, it's and who's going to play when, and we didn't have any idea. Now we slightly have an idea, so we'll see.
Yeah.
With it's kind of Roshan, a rookie, 6 catches, so I mean he got quite a few touches there, so
I'm just worried about putting any of these guys in my starting line because there was no tendencies. It was Khalil Herbert first drive. It was all Khalil Herbert, and then after that, it was just like it was Deontay, it was Roshan, it was Khalil. The only tendency really was that Roshan was the third down guy. That was really the only tendency, and so I'm just afraid about putting any of these guys in my lineup for now, including Khalil Herbert, until we see maybe a little more consistency. I would pick up Roshan if he's on waivers and you can afford if you have a decent sized bench. But yeah, it's concerning to me because it's like a 3-man committee and that's like fantasy hell, In terms of the receivers, those DJ Moore fans are not happy after week 1, 2 catches for 25 yards. Actually, Darnell Mooney was the leading receiver here. He had 4 catches, 53 yards and a touchdown. He was the wide receiver 18. It was kind of like, oh yeah, Darnell Mooney's on this team. Maybe I forgot about that, or the guy was a good player a couple years ago and then was hurt last year. So, but yeah, in terms of the tight end, Cole Kmet, 5 catches for 44 yards is all you need out of your tight end. So, yeah, are you nervous about DJ Moore? I know you probably didn't draft him, but
No, I didn't. I like the guy, and I think he's very good. It's just, the overall Chicago offense and stuff like that. And, it kind of starts with the quarterback. The quarterback's fantasy relevant because of his ground game and stuff. So,
Yeah.
We'll have to give it a couple more weeks, and see how it
Well,
lays out.
We talked about earlier about just how bad it, like, okay, a guy's injured, whatever, it happens. At least you're not starting him. It's the guys that you start, like, get injured right in the game and you get like a goose egg, or these guys who you feel like you have to start week after week because you drafted them there and you know the potential, but then they just keep putting up these 2 for 25s. It reminds me of Allen Robinson 2 years ago, where my brother Brian, he drafted him, he started him for like 6-7 weeks and just constant disappointment. So that's like a double whammy of like, not only are you starting, you feel like you have to start them, but they're just not producing. At least these guys deeper down, like we talked about Rashad White, maybe like, oh, you can get away with not starting him. So at what point how many weeks in do you get more of these DJ Moore performances, Dad? Like, if we get to week 4 and he hasn't done anything, are you just got to bench him now?
I tried to trade him. See if somebody else loves him, and it's tough to give up. I mean, he is a wide receiver 1. He should be, and it's just tough. It's tough to throw in the towel on these guys.
It is, but it's just so hard. Like I'm saying right now, if DJ Moore puts up 2 more of these performances, that I'm benching him until I see him produce. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, on to the next matchup. We have the Raiders and the Broncos. Jimmy G was Jimmy G. They are all he does is win. They are in first place in the AFC West. 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jimmy G stat line QB 12. Josh Jacobs, not great. 19 carries, 48 yards, 2 catches, 23 yards. Devontae, 6 catches, 66 yards. Jacoby Myers was the big receiver here. He had 9 catches, 81 yards, and I think 1 or 2 touchdowns. He was the wide receiver 3 on the week. I know he got hurt. 2 touchdowns for Jacoby Myers. We talked about him like as like a sneaky ad, and when we talked about the Raiders in our team review, like as a sneaky draft pick. Like, hopefully he's not too hurt. It was a pretty bad hit, but and then Austin Hooper, no one started him. He did nothing. So, Dad, early thoughts on the Raiders? Worried about anyone in particular, or you think Jacobs and Devontae will bounce back?
Jacoby Myers is in concussion protocol. That we got that update while we were talking and stuff. So okay. He looked pretty good. Tight end, we didn't see the rookie Michael Mayer.
No,
I don't even know if he got a target. I know he didn't get a catch or something like that. So it tells you maybe he's got something to learn more. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Jimmy G was Jimmy G. So
yep.
The running game didn't look awesome, but it was good enough. So probably get better.
Yeah, I think with Jacoby Myers, obviously, I don't think he'd be on the waiver wire. If he is, pick him up. I think I would avoid, if I can, I'd avoid starting him. The first 2 weeks, I like to go with the guys I drafted as my starters. I would probably avoid drafting Jacoby Myers. It feels like one of those, like, it's like, all right, you're chasing the production from the week before, and then it doesn't materialize, and you get upset about it. So one more week. If he does it again, then you can throw him in your lineup. But I think wait 1 more week on starting Myers. But yeah, the tight ends did nothing. It was all Jacobs in the backfield. It just didn't produce. So I think that will change. And, I think Davante Adams will be Davante Adams. So in terms of the Broncos, couldn't get to that above 16 points. It's all they need. Every game last year where they scored more than 16 points, I think they won. And they just couldn't do it. This week they got 16 points and they lost. Russell Wilson, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Javonte, 13 carries for 52 yards, 4 catches for 5 yards. He looks decent. Samaje Perine looked pretty good. He had eight carries for 40 yards and 4 catches for 37 yards. It was basically how it played out was they both had 29 snaps, but Perine was getting the third down work, and Williams was in on the early downs. That's possibly how it's going to be this season, which makes both of them valuable, in my opinion. Perine was the RB21 this week. And then wide receiver, Sutton, 4 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Fine. Marvin Mims didn't do anything. Adam Troutman had 5 catches for 30 yards. Greg Dulcich had like a leg injury. They were using him more than they were in the preseason. I think he was in on he was played 10 out of the 17 11 personnel snaps, which is that was all Adam Troutman in the preseason. So that was nice to see, but then he got hurt, so that's not good. Dad, what are you doing with the Broncos? Are you still starting Javonte and Sutton, or are you just kind of like?
Well, yeah, because no, they didn't look good, and you thought, I don't know, are we going to have an instant change, new coach, and stuff like that? So, I'm still starting Javonte and. Excuse me, Cortland Sutton and stuff like that, and let's see if Russell gets his shit together, and Oh
man, this does not look good to me. It
looks terrible.
Put Sutton in there. If Judy's back, I'm benching Sutton. Yeah, Javonte, fine. Samaje Perine, I think, will be a sneaky flex this year if he's going to catch 4 or 5 balls every week. It does not look good, though. I just want to avoid it as much as possible, I think. But on to the next game, maybe the game of the week. The Chargers and the Dolphins, just an absolute shootout. 2 of the probably better offenses in the league. Dolphins pull out the win. We'll start with Tua. Tua, man, almost over 450 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Awesome to see him healthy. This team's really good when he's healthy. He was like a top 5 quarterback last year when he was healthy. So Raheem Mostert, I thought a lot of people probably started him thinking he was going to smash. He only had 10 carries, but he did score a touchdown, fortunately. So that kind of saved his fantasy week. Tyreek Hill, man, is just absolutely unstoppable. 11 catches, 215 yards, 15. The guy is just unstoppable. I've said it for years. He's maybe not the best receiver in the NFL, but he impacts the game more than any other receiver because of his speed. So
he just blows past people like it's unbelievable, like can't nobody catch him or something,
Yeah, it is unbelievable. Waddle, only 5 targets, which I'm a little upset. Like, why is Durham Smythe getting 7 targets and Waddle is getting 5? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why is Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft getting as many targets as Jalen Waddle? Like, what are we doing here? He still had 78 yards, so he didn't absolutely kill you, but, only 4 catches because he only had 5 targets. So hopefully, you're going to get games like that with Waddle. Hopefully that's his floor. That 4 catches, 60 to 70 yards. If that's his floor, you're going to be fine because he's going to put up 150 yards every couple weeks, So, and then nothing too much. I mean, Durham Smythe for the tight end, 3 catches, 44 yards. But yeah, this team was awesome. Dad, anything at the running back position? Like, are you can't start a Miami running back? Is that just kind of how we're approaching things here?
Not quite. We know McDaniel's running game is usually pretty good. So I don't know. Maybe Mostert is not he's not a spring chicken or something. A-Chain didn't play. Jeff Wilson's not playing. So it's maybe they need that mixture of guys to make things better or something, but I guess it's one of those things to watch.
Yeah, the thing it was all kind of not all Mostert, but he had 45 snaps to Salvin Ahmed's 16, so he only had 10 carries. Again, the touchdown saved you, so he ended up with 50 total yards and a touchdown, which is fine. I expected a little more. I expected 60, 70 yards rushing, maybe 20 yards receiving, but Yeah, I'm probably not gonna. You shouldn't have to start Mostert because you drafted him very late. So I'm probably gonna avoid starting him until I see a little bit more. But yeah, Waddle, Hill, and Tua, you're obviously starting. No problem. In terms of the Chargers, they did it a little differently. Well, Justin Herbert had an okay game, only 230 yards passing, a touchdown. He did get a rushing touchdown, which again saved his week. This team ran the hell out of the ball, which, when I was thinking about, Kellen Moore's coming over, people were saying, Herbert's going to throw for 5,000 yards and they're going to throw the ball this many times. I was looking at Dallas and they were always closer to 50-50 in running the ball. And they used two backs a lot, and that's what they did in this game. Eckler had 16 carries, 117 yards. He had a big run. He had a touchdown. He also had 4 catches. He did Eckler things. Joshua Kelly had 16 carries and 91 yards. He had just as many carries as Eckler. It was kind of like a Zeke Pollard split here. But we'll touch on that, Dad. Josh Kelly, you have to pick him up this week, right? He's obviously on waivers. He has to be an ad, right? Do you think he's going to be?
Yeah, I think so. And, we've been waiting for another guy, Spiller, to show up, and he was a healthy scratch. So, his days may be done. So it's going to be Kelly and Eckler, for sure. And if Joshua Kelly's available, play him. Why not?
Yep. Yeah, this could be a Zeke Pollard type of split, man. Like 16 carries. That's going to hurt Justin Herbert's numbers for those people that drafted him quite high, I would say. I still think he'll be fine, but Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 76 yards. We talked about Eckler. Mike Williams, who got banged up, 4 catches, 45 yards. He did come back.
He was playing in the end, yeah.
Yeah. Quentin Johnston didn't do much. Josh Palmer. Donald Parham caught a touchdown. So, you're not going to bench Allen or Williams. So I don't know if there's much to talk about with these guys unless you want to add something there, Dad. You're not going to start these tight ends, I would say.
No, not really.
Yeah. But yeah, on to the Eagles and the Patriots. This one got interesting. It looked like, here go the Eagles. They're just a machine beginning of the game, and then it kind of sucked in the second half. So they won 25-20. Jalen Hurts didn't look great in terms of fantasy. 170 yards passing, a touchdown, only 37 yards on the ground. The big thing to talk about is it was Kenneth Gainwell in the backfield. And we mentioned it when we talked about the Eagles. Like, hey, Nick Sirianni is basically telling us that Kenneth Gainwell is the running back. And maybe we should listen to him. And that's how it played out after week 1. 14 carries. DeAndre Swift had 1 carry and a catch. Boston Scott had a carry. Yeah.
That was shocking.
Yeah, it was. Because I'm sure a lot of people started Swift and he did nothing. Didn't even get the opportunity.
And Penny, Rashad Penny, not even playing.
He was inactive, right?
Right.
And it wasn't like Swift wasn't on the field. Like Swift had 16 snaps and Gainwell had 39. So Swift was kind of out there, but he just he got nothing. So what are you doing with Swift? Obviously, you're not starting him, right? You're benching him until you see something.
Yeah. Well, you got to see it, was it? Now you've seen it. Now you've gotten a little lick of the ice cream cone there in the Philadelphia running back situation. So that's what you got to roll with what you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's concerning. He's kind of in that Antonio Gibson spot where I'm not starting him until I see something. I'm probably not going to drop him, but because he's on such a good team. But yeah, it is concerning. Gainwell, you obviously need to add. If he's going to get 15 carries on the Eagles offense, that's super, super. And he also had 4 catches for 20 yards. So that's super valuable. In terms of the receivers, A.J. Brown, 7 catches, 79 yards. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 47 yards and a touchdown. Goddard, goose egg. That's not great for people. Goddard getting a goose egg. Just the Eagles just seem off. Bill Belichick and the Patriots defense are always good. They're always make things difficult. And they always shut down tight ends, by the way, for whatever reason. So any concerns here, Dad, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard? You're just starting them again week 2? And
no, I think that the Patriots defense kind of stepped up and stuff like that. So, wasn't an easy game for Philadelphia's offense. So,
yeah, I agree there. And then with the Patriots, Mac Jones threw the ball 54 times. It's nice to see them with an actual offensive coordinator, not freaking what's his face, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, being an offensive coordinator. I don't understand what they were doing last year, but Mac Jones, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was QB2 on the week behind only Tua. That's awesome to see. Zeke had 7 carries for 29 yards. Ramondre, 12 carries for 25 yards, but he did have 6 catches. It's kind of saved you there. We'll start there, Dad. Are you concerned about Ramondre Stevenson? I mean, only 12 carries, and if he didn't get 6 catches, you're super disappointed, or is that just kind of what you expect from?
Well, I don't think New England's going to win with Mac Jones throwing 54 passes. So, there has to be a more of a balance for them, but they got behind a little bit. New England did, so I'm sure that equates into having to throw the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, and that is good for Ramondre because he's in on the third downs. He's in on that 2-minute drill, and the 2-minute drills you can get a lot of points you can rack up there. So this could just be what we get from Ramondre: 12 carries, and then hopefully he gets 6 catches. Like that just could be kind of what he does. He had a lot of catches last year. They had 1 goal line carry. It went to Zeke. So that isn't great for Ramondre people, but I think we kind of expected that when they signed Zeke. That's kind of what Zeke, if he can do anything well as of now in this part of his career, it's run the ball in from the goal line. And then Kendrick Bourne, man, 6 catches, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. We've seen him flash before in New England. He, to me, needs to be added because this wide receiver room isn't necessarily super deep. So you need to add Kendrick Bourne. Do you agree with that, Dad?
I played him. I have a dynasty orphan league that I took over that was in not very good shape, and Kendrick Bourne was on there, and I started him, and I'm like, dude, you helped me win. So yeah, he looked the part, and in the highlights that I've seen. So
yeah, we've seen him flash before, like not last year, but I think 2 years ago. Yeah, he was the wide receiver 4 this week. And another guy, which I was telling people when we went over the Patriots in the team review, why is Hunter Henry not being drafted? Why is Mike Gesicki being drafted? Like, what are we doing? Mike Gesicki, what? Hunter Henry is the tight end 1 so far in the week. We'll see going into this week. I don't see that changing really, but Hunter Henry had 5 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Like, he's a good tight end. He needs to be picked up. Like, I'm going to be targeting him on teams where I took like late tight ends that didn't pan out, and I'm going to take Hunter Henry. So, but I agree with you. This team's not going to win by throwing the ball 50 times. So I expect a little bit more of a balance. But yeah, Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry, to me, they need to be rostered. And then a little concerning, Juju is actually 3rd on the depth chart. He ran less routes than Kendrick Bourne and the rookie Keyshawn Boutte, the 6th-round rookie, or Booty, however you say it. So that is concerning because I was thinking, okay, Juju, easy top 36 receiver. His snap percentage was down to almost just above 50%. And why he was good in Kansas City is he was playing over 75% of the snaps. So that's really, really concerning. Keep an eye on that. But yeah, Dad, anything else with these Patriots?
Nah, not really.
Okay, we got 2 more games to finish up here. Next is the Rams and the Seahawks. Shocking results, I would say. We'll start with the Rams. Stafford looked good. He threw for over 330 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but distributed the ball well. Rams obviously won the game 30-13. This running back room is interesting. If you bought into Cam Akers, you're a little disappointed. I've never seen a stat line like this, Dad. 22 carries for 29 yards. Have you ever seen a stat line of a guy getting 20 carries and not even getting 30 yards? I don't think I've ever seen that. Have you seen that?
No, not really. But it's kind of good. They stuck with the running game, but yeah. Good on the Rams for going up there and everybody was kind of saying they're going to suck and they're only going to win 5 games and stuff like that. Stafford's washed up, and they went up and Aaron Donald was still an animal, and
I'm worried about, because Cam Akers was drafted as like a RB2 in the second, 5th round or so, and Kyren Williams outsnapped him 53 snaps to 28. No one saw that coming. Everyone thought, okay, Kyren Williams, he's the passing down guy. No, it was Kyren Williams as the early down guy, and he doubled the snap count of Cam Akers. Kyren Williams had 15 carries for 52 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had I think a catch or something in there. So I'm concerned about Akers. Like, I would pick up Kyren Williams, especially if I'm the Akers manager, and especially if Akers is going to run the ball 22 times and get 29 yards, you're going to get less carries for him. He's going to get less playing time. So, he salvaged his week because he scored a touchdown, but yeah, that's concerning. Kyren Williams doubling the amount of snaps. So, the receiving, Tutu Atwell, 6 catches, 119 yards. Puka Nacua, 10 catches, 119 yards, 15 targets. One of the best first games ever by a rookie. This is like Jamar Chase level stuff. We just don't see rookies do this. Tyler Higbee, 3 catches, 49 yards. He's probably a top 12 tight end. Dad, obviously, is Puka Nacua your number 1 waiver wire target?
Absolutely. Yeah. They say he runs routes really well, and he's not the fastest guy, but tells you, what precise route running can get you. And they were carving up the Seattle defense.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I think Nacua, especially as Cooper Kupp's missing at least 2 more weeks. Nacua could be really, really good play. Then Tutu Atwell could be a very good play. A guy who was a 2nd round pick a couple years ago. So I'd pick up both of those guys. I would target Nacua because I think he's just going to get a lot of targets and catches while Cooper Kupp's out. So that was cool to see. Also because, we did these rookie reviews and stuff, and he was one of the guys that we kind of made a note of, and it's nice to see it pay off a little bit of like, hey, we liked him and he's looked good, We've seen it with a couple of those guys. So, but yeah, those 2 receivers need to be drafted 100%. The Seahawks, Geno Smith, I think they had barely any yards in the second half. It was insane. They had at one point negative yards in the second half. Started off well, but Geno Smith only 112 yards passing. Kenneth Walker had 12 carries for 64 yards. Zach Charbonnet only 3 carries. Kenneth Walker was out there basically the whole game. I'll tell you the snaps here in just a second, but Kenneth Walker had I can't find it. Here we go. Kenneth Walker had 32 snaps. Charbonnet had 11. So this is kind of what they did last year when they had Penny. And even though they drafted Kenneth Walker high, they were using Rashad Penny. So, but they just didn't run it. I don't understand. They were winning. Why didn't you run the ball more? I don't know. It was just confusing. DK Metcalf had 47 yards, but he caught a touchdown. All the other receivers did nothing. I think Tyler Lockett may have been injured, so keep an eye on that. But yeah, Dad, what do you think? Are you worried about Geno and this offense? Because we saw Geno turn from a bust to, wow, where'd this guy come from 7 years later? Are we worried? Like you always talk about it. You start to get tape and film on this guy. Are they figuring him out? Are we
Well,
worried he's
yeah,
turning back into why he was a bust?
I guess his last number of games last year, I'll say anywhere from 4 to 6, he was kind of coming back to earth a little bit and things like that. So, 112 yards, that's a problem, man, considering the wide receivers you got, and you got an okay tight end, and you got a running game. What the hell's going on? So you better figure it out, or it could be a long year. Tyler Lockett caught 2 passes. That ain't right.
Yeah, no, this is I'm slightly concerned just because we saw what we saw from Geno his whole career. He was considered a bust. Great last year. Got to give him credit. But is what happened the previous 8 years? Like why were you nothing the previous 8 years? So I don't know. If this keeps up, Seattle wants to win, they will, I'm telling you, they will go to Drew Lock. I know it sounds crazy, but if Geno keeps progressing like this, they will turn to Drew Lock. I guarantee it. So, anything else on this game or on this team with the Seahawks?
Yeah, not really.
Right,
something to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. And especially the Lockett injury, because that makes JSN intriguing. But we have one more game that wasn't a game. It was the Cowboys and Giants. If you started the Cowboys defense, congratulations. You probably won your week because they were getting into the 40-point range. They shut them out. They shut the Giants out. They scored 2 touchdowns. They had 8 sacks, a couple interceptions. It was insane. But we'll start with the Cowboys. Because the defense played so well, you didn't get huge performances on this team. I mean, Dak only threw for 143 yards because he didn't have to do anything. Pollard scored 2 touchdowns, had 14 carries. That was good to see. CD Lamb, 4 catches for 77 yards. But because the defense was just absolutely dominating this team, you didn't really get huge offensive performances. Had early thoughts on the Cowboys, they
were
Pollard,
just it's good to see Pollard back, and 14 carries. That's about where I think you want Tony Pollard. And I don't know how many passes he caught, but
only 2. But they only had
game
13 completions.
Yeah. So the offensive numbers, even though they scored 40 points, Dallas offensive numbers weren't lights out or anything. That tells you how well their defense. I think I seen on somebody's league, they scored 38 points or something. So it's just, Giants, you didn't show up at all, man. It was disgusting.
It was absolutely disgusting. And it's a little unfortunate because it's nice to see Pollard. He had 34 snaps. The next highest was Rico Dowdle with 8, which is fine. So I think you'll probably even see more carries by Pollard, but it just didn't need it. It's a little unfortunate because I think we were excited to see, okay, what's Brandon Cooks going to be and what's Jake Ferguson going to be. But because they were just so dominant on defense, we didn't really get to see it. So I wish we would have been able to see it, but yeah, this team was just so dominant. There's not much to talk about on the offense just because the defense. For the Giants, I think it's concerning, man. You can't be that. This team was a playoff team that improved. You can't be that bad, man. You can't give Daniel Jones all that money for him to give you 2 interceptions and not even throw for 100. He just looked terrible. Looked absolutely terrible. So I know one of the interceptions wasn't really his fault. He did have 13 carries and 43 yards on the ground, which helps in fantasy. And, this, nothing to talk about. I mean, Saquon couldn't get going. Darren Waller couldn't get going. So is there anything you really want to talk about? We're just you're going to start Saquon, I assume, right? You're going to start Waller next week. Are you benching Daniel Jones, Dad? If you have 2 quarterback option, if you have Goff and Jones, or I don't know, Anthony Richardson and Jones.
Well, yeah, you're still going to get something out of his legs and running the ball. And if you got other options, though, that are, maybe you need to roll with it. I don't know. Overreaction Monday, week 1. So just think about it. Think Wednesday rolls around, set your lineups and stuff like that, and go with. I like what you said earlier. You said go with the guys you drafted. You drafted them for a reason because they had a bad game. Now you're going to go. You're going to blow it all up and stuff. I'm not sure that's the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. For the most part, you go with your starters because you're just going to be, or else you're going to be frustrated. Like if you're just always chasing. We have a guy in our league, Bobby, who always you can almost bank on him. Whoever is like the highest waiver wire scorer that week, he's going to go for them, and he just starts them. It's like you're always chasing last week's points, and it burns you a lot. So just, relax. Go with your starters the first couple weeks. If they suck after 2-3 weeks, then you can start thinking about moves to make. So that's how I would approach it. So, but we're going to finish up there. We have Monday Night Football tonight, and then we're on to week 2, waiver wire stuff, trade targets. We'll do a week 2 preview, me and Brian. So, Dad, any last words? Do you have any players tonight that will decide any games, or do you need any points?
No, tonight? I'm good, but I got Breece Hall on a dynasty team, and I want to see what he's gonna do. So I think I'm gonna lose that unless he explodes, gives me like 25 points or something like that. But I want to see Breece Hall. If he does something like what Javonte Williams did yesterday, I'd be happy.
Yeah. No, for sure. You want to see, and I'm curious to see how they use these guys. I have a matchup in our dynasty league, which I kind of blew up my team a little bit, but also like my team's still good enough to make the playoffs. So I'm kind of curious which way it goes. I'm down by a little less than 3 points, and I have Garrett Wilson. He has Dalvin Cook, so that's what it's going to come down to. So I need Garrett Wilson to outscore Dalvin Cook by 3 points. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens, but. Enough about our leagues. We'll finish up there. As always, like the video and subscribe, and good luck in your Monday night matchups, and we'll catch you guys.